functions and equations. What you can do in this mode, you can solve linear equations or linear functions, you can solve non-linear functions, and you can solve absolute valued functions, which are also called modulus functions. It is very important that I clarify here that in this particular episode, we will not be discussing simultaneous equations and polynomials, that is the quadratic or the cubic equations. So functions and equations is a separate topic, and simultaneous equations and polynomials is a separate topic, which we have already discussed. So today we'll solely be focusing on functions and equations. In order to solve functions and equations, you should be in menu 1. Menu 1 is the basic menu where you can perform different functions and solve those equations. So the first expression in front of you is f of x is x cubed minus 2x plus 3, and you need to find the value where x is 0.2. So I will be explaining it to you how to solve this. So we will press X, we will press shift and this button. I hope by now everyone is aware of the fact that all yellow keys, everything written with yellow on the calculator is applicable by shift button, and everything written with red is applicable through alpha button. So this is x cube minus 2x plus 3. You will press shift and calculate. The calculator will ask what value of x do you want to insert. So you want to insert x as 0.2. And now when you press equals to, you will get the value of x, which is this, and L minus R, please note, is not 0. The reason being that when L minus R is not 0 in your calculator, it is an indication that the value obtained is incorrect value, because the value will only be correct when L minus R is 0 here. So it means that I need to resolve this particular question. In order to do so, what I will do is I will press shift 9 3 is equals to, so that my calculator is initialized. There is no memory in the calculator, because there was some kind of a memory in the calculator, because of which we were not able to get the specified answer. I have clarified all the memories from the calculator. Now I will try and solve the equation again. It is x cube minus 2x plus 3, and I will press shift and calculate, which means solve this equation. We need to solve this equation when x is 0. No, I want to solve it when x is 0.2. So I have two options for that. First option is I repeat my equation and I replace all the x with 0.2. When I do so, I will delete this and I will press 0.2. I will move on. I will delete this x, and instead of this, I will write 0.2 and I will close the bracket. This way, the x has been replaced by 0.2, and I will press equals to, and will get the specified answer, which is 326 upon 125. If I wish to solve this through any other means, that is also possible. What I have to do is I have to write x cube minus 2x plus 3 alpha calculate will give me equals to here and 0. Now I have written an equation on the screen. In order to write equation on the screen, I pressed x cube minus 2x plus 3. To write this equals to on the screen, I press alpha and calculate, because everything with red is applicable through alpha button, and I completed the equation. Now I will press equals to. When I press equals to, it gave me syntax error, because instead of equals to, I have to press shift and calculate. When I write the equation on the calculator screen and I press this equals to button, the calculator will never give me the right answer. What I need to do is, I need to write the equation and press shift and calculate, which is solve. Now when I solve it, what values of x do I need to solve it with? X is 0.2. So I will write x as 0.2 and I will press equals to, and the calculator has given me once again the answer, that is 0.676209, which means that this is once again not absolutely correct answer. The answer has to be 326 upon 125. So which means that whenever in calculator you are inserting a function and you do not get L minus R, it's an indication that this particular function cannot be solved through the calculator. It has to be solved through the calculator without applying the solve function. That is, what you need to do is, you need to replace this x by 0.2 and you need to replace this x by 0.2 as well. Then only this will be possible. I will be solving a few more questions where we can apply different functions, different methodologies. But at different point in time, there are situations where you cannot solve everything through the calculator. And in that particular question, you have to insert the value of x like this. All right. The next example, in the next example, you are told to evaluate the following functions: f of x, where x is 0, 1, and 2. And f of x is given to you as x square minus e power x plus 1. So I will insert the equation x square minus e is shift and ln. Shift and ln is e. I will press x. I will scroll right and I will press plus and 1. So this is the question on the screen. I need to find the value of x as 0, 1, and 2. So what I'll do is, this is the question. I will replace x by 0, 1, and 2 respectively. So I will first replace this x by 0. To do so, I will delete this x and instead of x I will write 0. I will delete this x and I will write x as 0. And I will press equals to. So the first answer that I am achieving is 0. When x is 0, my answer is 0. The second part of the question is to solve the following function when x is 1. So when x is 1, I will replace x by 1. When I replace x by 1, my answer is minus 0.7183. And similarly, I need to find the value of x when this is 2. And in order to do so, I will replace x by 2. And I will get the desired answer. I hope this is clear. First thing, I wrote this equation, and after writing this particular equation, what I am doing is, after writing this equation, what I am doing is I am replacing x by the relevant value of x that is required by the question. First, I replaced x by 0. I have replaced x by 0. Then in the next step, I replaced x by 1. In the third part, I replaced x by 2. All right. There are certain questions which cannot be solved through that. I mean, we can always try it, but the method of realizing whether calculator is giving us the correct answer or not is L minus R should always be 0. We will try this in because of this particular question. I will write this equation again and try to solve it through solve button, and we'll try to realize why the answer is correct or why the answer is incorrect. So I will press x square minus shift ln, that is e, x square minus shift ln, that is e, x. I will scroll out of the power plus 1. And I will press shift and solve. And I have to keep the value of x as 0. And I will press equals to, because the first value of x is 0. Now I will press equals to. And now please realize that the answer is x is 0 and L minus R is also 0, which means that our answer obtained is correct answer through the calculator, because L minus R is 0. In the first example, unfortunately, L minus R was not coming to 0. That is why we were not using the solve button to give the final answer. If L minus R is 0, it is an indication that the left hand side iteration is equal to the right hand side iteration, and it's a clear indication that what we have done through the calculator is giving us the correct answer. There are certain questions which have multiple answers available, and in order to ensure that we are obtaining the correct answer, L minus R should always be 0. So the next part of the question is x is 1. So now I will replace x with 1. So I will write 1 and I will press equals to. Now when I press the equals to for the first time, the value of x is stored as 1. And now when I press equals to, the answer that I am obtaining is x is 0, L minus R is 0. But the correct answer was not 1. The correct answer was not 0. The correct answer was 0 for the first case. Actually, the problem is that when you solve this equation through the calculator, you need to realize that there are multiple answers acceptable. So what those multiple answers can be are unknown to us. So that is why we do not take the risk, and what we do instead is we replace x by the relevant values that have been given to us to solve the particular answers. That way you realize when x is 0, the answer is 0. When x is 1, the answer is minus 0.18. But the calculator was not giving you this correct answer because it was solving the equation in such a manner that we were only getting the first answer. We were not getting the multiple answers. Similarly, when I insert 2, I will get yet another answer. That is minus 2.389. So unfortunately, calculator out of the 3 answers was only giving us one answer, that was x is 0. So once again, when there are multiple functions involved, it is always advisable to replace the values of x after writing this function so that there are no errors whatsoever. I would like to repeat this once again. The calculator is just a tool to ensure that you can verify your answers. But if the calculator is not helping us verify the answer in the correct manner, then we need to ensure that we apply those functions, or we are aware of those techniques where calculator will give us the correct answer always and where calculator will give us the correct answer sometimes. So having the correct answer sometimes is a difficult task to deal with. So we need to be well versed with the fact that when to use which feature of the calculator. I hope this answers your question. All right, now look at this particular equation. Solve the following equation. Now this is 2x minus 5, and in the question there is equals to, and there is 6x minus 15. We are now aware of the fact that these two equations are linear equations. Both sides of equals to are linear equations, and hence we will only get one solution to this particular question. So now we are in a position that we can apply 2x minus 5 alpha calculate, so that we have the whole question or the whole equation on the screen, 6x minus 15. Now we have the whole of this equation on the screen of the calculator. I hope everyone is following me. And now it is advisable that we apply the shift and solve button. And now when we press equals to, the calculator will give us the correct answer, that is x is 2.5, L minus R is 0. Now, if this particular question needs to be solved, there are only two methods. Either we solve it manually or we solve it through the shift and calculate button. So the reason I was solving or applying the shift and calculate button earlier was to distinguish between the questions where I can apply this particular button and where I cannot apply this particular button. It's time that we also realize what feature to apply when, because all features cannot always be applied. There are certain features which are best suited in certain situations or circumstances. I hope this particular thing is clear. I will solve the question once again. I have pressed to x minus 5. In order to write equals to, I have to press alpha and calculate. I wrote 6x minus 15. And I will press equals, and I will press shift and solve. So it is asking me what value of x is already stored. This is not the answer. That is the value of x which is stored in the calculator, which can be any value. It can be x, 1, 2.5, whatever the value is stored in the calculator. And the answer is x is 2.5 and L minus R is 0, indicating that this equation has been solved. And whether I input x as 2.5 on the left hand side or I put x as 2.5 on the right hand side, I will get 0 on both the sides. I hope this is clear. Are also now aware of the fact that if I press shift and option buttons, shift and OPTN, I will get a QR code. Since this calculator is allowed in exams, it does not show the graphical representation. But if I scan the QR code for my practice at home, not during exams, but my practice at home, if I want to visualize whether what I have done is correct or not, I can scan this QR code, and as soon as I will scan the QR code, I will get this input output, which will tell me that the value of x is 2.5 and L minus R is definitely and actually equals to 0. So there will be a confirmation through online visualization also. I hope this is also clear to everyone. All right, let's say there was an equation 3x minus 2 shift and equals to alpha and equals to 9x minus 6. And if I wish to solve this equation, I will press shift and calculate, which is solve. I will store the value of x as 0 and I will press equals to. And now the correct answer is 0.6667, and L minus R is also 0, which is an indication that this is absolutely the correct answer. And I hope everyone has now understood how to apply this solve and equals to button. If I wish to visualize it, I will press Shift and OPTN. I will get the QR code. I will scan this QR code, and this will help me visualize my answer also. This is another equation, and if you realize that this particular equation is 4 power x minus 5 2 power x plus 6 is equal to 0. Now this is an equation which has a power, and I have done the manual solution for you, and if you note, it has a lengthy manual solution involved. It is involving power functions, and it is also involving logarithms, and hence it's a lengthy task to solve. If I wish to solve it through calculator, all I need to do is I will press 4 and power button, and I will press X. Then I will come out of power by pressing this button. This button is right movement, or I'm moving to shifting to the right side. Minus 5 bracket open 2 with a power of x. I will come out of this power by pressing the right button. I will close the bracket plus 6. I will press alpha and calculate to write equals to and 0. So 4 power x minus 5 power 2x plus 6 is equals to 0. Now, when I press shift and calculate, it is asking me or telling me that the stored value of x is 0.666. It does not make a difference whatever the stored value of x is at the moment, and I will press equals to. When I pressed equals to, I got the value of x as 1 and L minus R is 0, which means that the value of x is 1. Since it is a question that involves power, there is also a possibility that I might have two answers. In order to check whether I have any other answer, what I will do is I will press this right button and go on to the equation again. I will press shift and calculate. It is asking me or informing me that the stored value of x is 1. Do I wish to change the stored value of x? If let's say I do not change the stored value of x, and without changing the stored value of x, I press 1. The calculator will give me again that the value of x is 1, which I had already achieved earlier. I am trying to check whether there is another value of x or not. So what I did is I will press the right key again, and now this time I will press shift and calculate, and instead of x as 1, let's say I wrote x as 2. I have taken one value greater than 1 to check whether there is some other value of x or not, and I press equals to. When I pressed equals to, I realized that there is yet another value of x because L minus R again is 0. If L minus R would not have been 0, then it would have been an indication that there is only one value of x. Since L minus R is 0, it means that this 1.5849 is the second value of x. Now, if you see the manual solution that I have done here, it also gives two values of x. One value of x is 1. The other value of x is 1.5849. So when you use a calculator to find or solve a particular equation, then please realize that if the equation is a linear equation, it will only have one answer. But if the equation is a non-linear equation, then it can have more than one answer. There is a possibility that there is only one answer, but there can be more than one answer. So always keep first stored value of x as 0. This is the stored value of x. When I press shift and calculate, the value of x here is the stored value of x. Always keep the first stored value of x as 0 and press equals to get the answer. Once you have achieved the answer, press the right button and press shift and calculate, and see the stored value of x is the same value as the answer that we have obtained. So since we have obtained 1, the stored value is 1. And when I put the stored value here, and which is the answer, I will get it again. See, I will get the same answer again. So in order to realize whether we have another answer or not, we need to have some other stored value. So what I'll do is I press shift and calculate, and I press x as 2. When I press equals to, now the stored value is changed to stored value of x as 2, and I will realize that yes, there is another answer, which is 1.5849, and L minus R is 0, which is an indication that there are 2 answers to this particular question. All right, now this is do it yourself question. So the first part is we have to write this equation. So it's a fraction. So I press the fraction button. I press 6. I scrolled down. This is x plus 1. I press the right button to come out of the fraction. I press alpha and calculate to write equals to. I press the fraction button. 5. I scrolled down. This is x minus 3. I hope this is clear. Now I will press shift and I will press shift and calculate. The calculator is telling me stored value of x is 23. It's always advisable to start off with 0. So the stored value of x now will be 0 when I press equals to. Once it highlights, it means that this is the stored value of x. When I press equals to again, it will give me the answer, but please realize that L minus R is not 0, which means that the answer we have obtained is incorrect. So what I'll do is I will come out of this by pressing this right button, and I will press shift and solve, and I will keep the stored value as 1. You start off with 0, you move on to 1. So I kept the stored value of x now as 1, and I press equals to, and my answer is 23, and L minus R is 0, which means that 23 is the correct answer. And that's it. Since I'm aware of the fact that this is an equation which, if I cross multiply, will give me 2 linear equations, hence it's a linear equation, and if it is a linear equation, it means I will only get one answer. I hope I'm clear. All right, so the first question was 4x cube minus 1. My advice to solve this question would be to just replace x by minus 2. So you replace x by minus 2. Apologies, I by mistake came out of this. This is 4x cube minus 1. So my advice would be to delete this x and replace this x by minus 2. Once you do that, you have to press equals to, and you'll get the answer as minus 33. If you have achieved the same answer, you have done it correctly. For the second answer, obviously calculator does not have p, but p is a variable, so calculator has x. I will write 4 bracket open x minus 3 bracket close. I will press alpha and equals to. I will press 2. Instead of p, I have x plus 7. And I will press shift and solve. I will keep the stored value of x as 0 and I will press equals to. So correct answer is 9.5. L minus R is 0, indicating that we have done it correctly. I hope this is clear. I will solve question number 1, that is 2 power x. I will come out of the power, I will press alpha and equals to x plus 2, and I will press shift and calculate. I will keep the stored value as 0 and the answer is minus 1.6900 and L minus R is 0, which means that the answer that we have obtained is correct. There can be another answer also. So let's try and find out if there is any other answer. So I will shift and calculate, that is solve, and I will keep the value of x as, let's say, 1. And I will press equals to, and I got 2. So the second answer is 2. So we have two answers for this. One answer is 2 and the other answer is minus 1.6 something. I would like to clarify, if someone has just given answer for question number 1 as minus 1.69, that person will only be awarded half marks, because the correct answer is minus 1.69 as well as 2. So the participants need to be aware of the fact that there are situations when there are non-linear equations involved. This is a non-linear equation, and non-linear equation usually have more than one answers. So if you have achieved the first answer by keeping x as 0, my advice would be increase the value of x and keep checking whether there is some other answer where L minus R is 0. If it is, then you are going on the right track. If it is not, then there is a problem. I hope that makes more sense now. So question number 2, the equation is a fraction. So it is minus 7x plus square root of x square minus 9 upon 2. Since it is a function, I would advise to replace 5x by 5. So I am now replacing x by 5 within brackets, and I have done so. So all I need to do is press equals to, and the correct answer to question number 2 is minus 31 upon 2. The third question is solve the equation. So to solve the equation, I will write the whole equation. 4 power x minus 5 bracket open 2 power x. I will close the bracket, minus 6 alpha, calculate 0. So I will press shift and solve. It is telling me the stored value of x is 2. I will prefer starting from 0, and I will press equals to, and it says it cannot solve. All right, I'll just do it. So I will press shift and solve. Now I will keep the value of x as 2 and I will press equals to, and the correct answer is 2.584, and since L minus R is 0, this has to be the correct answer. But I need to check whether any other answer was possible. So I will try a few more things. Shift, solve. I will keep x as 1 and see what answer I am getting. And once again, when I keep x as 1, I think it will tell me that it cannot solve, because it is taking a lots of time to apply different iterative combinations, and it is still not yielding the correct answer. I will press x as, let's say, 5. and see what is the answer. So I'm still getting the same answer, that is 2.584. I will try a bigger number, and I will keep, let's say, 12. And I still got the same answer, which means that there is a possibility that there is only one answer which is a valid answer. I will also try some negative values and see if there is a possibility. For that, I will press shift and solve, and I will keep x as -2. And let's see. So apparently there is only one answer, that is 2.5 something. All right. Then the question says in question number 4, find the coordinates of the turning point of this. If I would have been solving this particular question, what I would have done is I would have recalled that the easiest way of finding the turning point, that is, I will go to menu, I will press A, I will solve a polynomial with degree 2, and I will write 2 is equals to -10 is equals to 3 is equals to, and when I press equals to, this is the first x intercept, y intercept, this is the x coordinate of turning point, and this is the y coordinate of turning point. This was a trick question to make sure that you recall the previous episodes. So the turning point is 5/2 and -19/2. So question number 5 is 3, bracket open, x -5, bracket close, alpha, and calculate, which is equals to 5x -7. It's a linear equation, so we will only have one answer. I will press shift and calculate to solve it. Initial value of x is 0, and the correct answer is -4. X is -4 with left hand side minus right hand side is equal to 0 also. I hope this is clear. So the correct answer to question number 5 is -4. Then question number 6, once again it's a function, 5x -3. My advice would be replace x by 4, and once you do that, the correct answer is 17. I hope this is clear. And the last question is 2x square minus 3x plus x. Once again, it's a function with 3. So my advice would be 2x square minus 3x plus 6 and replace x by 3. I hope everyone is following me. And the correct answer turns out to be 15.